Hi, I'm just wrapping up my day and I just have some final thoughts. I had watched a live being done today by a person I follow on the Tubes of You, and she was interviewing another trans person. And this guest, they made the comment about whether um, no, she made the comment that that trans women who have undergone their transition are no longer trans, they are just simply women. And okay, so I understand where she's coming from. I agree. If a person's undergoing transition and they are a trans woman, I agree that a trans woman is a woman, as a cis woman is a woman. So that I agree with it. I agree with her that much. However, to say that someone who has undergone transition that they have somehow completed it brings up some other issues. What determines if a transition is complete or not? What is, how do you determine that end goal? In my opinion, that end goal is when the person's outside expression now matches their internalized sense of gender sufficiently that they don't get dysphoria if this is what they're experiencing. Um, and this applies to whether they are trans women, trans men, trans femme, trans masc, um, non binary, what have you. So, to say that someone who's trans is no longer trans if they've completed their transition not only begs the question of what is it to have finished one's transition, but um, it also kind of denies the trans experience of people who have transitioned from one gender to another. I mean, yes, I agree. A trans woman should be considered a woman, as well as a cis woman should be considered a woman. A trans man should be considered a man, as well as a cis man should be considered a man. But to say that they stop being trans at some point kind of takes away the fact that they've had this experience where they've transitioned, that they are a person of trans experience, right? Now, again, whether or not trans and cis should be adjectives we use to divide up categories of men, women, what have you. This is a valid question that wasn't what was explored, but yeah, I just think that the idea of a trans person having completed their transition, whatever that might mean, is no longer trans. It is kind of a negation of what they've experienced and who they are. Um, and I agree that it should not be something that is negative, that whatever they transition to, that should be what they're considered. It's just that people aren't, from the outside, aren't going to necessarily agree on what that is and if that is complete or not because societal norms being what they are. So yeah, I mean it's a little more. I want to say nuance, but I don't want to jump on that word because it gets overused a lot by people who are just trying to make excuses for certain things, and I'm not trying to do that here. I am just trying to explain that it's not simple as saying that someone completes their transition and they're no longer trans when there is no clear definition of what an endpoint of transitioning, the end of transitioning is. So I think we have to keep that in mind when we're discussing these things. Reaching the goal of one's transition, reaching the endpoint of one's transition, is not going to be the same for every single person. In fact, I would argue that no two people have exactly the same transition goals. There's going to be at least subtle differences, if not some major ones. And that's all I wanted to share. So have yourself a good night, lovelies. I'll talk to you later.